What's going on, guys? It's Brandon back here, and it's been a while since I've done a video in this format, just with the camera in front of me and just talking. So since we've concluded the NHL series, got to get videos up somehow, and why not today, September 1st? The preseason is about 24 days away from now, and why not get some predictions out just to start the season? And let's start with the Pacific Division because they're the only one I think I feel like is going to go on in that division. Now, the Pacific Division, I must say, has gotten much better this year, and I think there's going to be a bigger shock near the end of the video that you'll probably find, and people might call me ludicrous if there's enough people that view the video. So, at number 8 in the division, we have the San Jose Sharks. San Jose refuses to go through a rebuild, but they have all the means of needing a rebuild. They're not good with their players they have. They trade off Brent Burns, which gets rid of offense. The only piece that's young there is Barabanov, and he's not anything special, but I do like him I'd like him as a third line winger. Then you have guys like Couture and Hurdle who have big extensions. Vlasic is still there. Erik Karlsson's the guy, and in net they just traded out Adin Hill to Vegas, but there's really not much. It's pretty easy to put San Jose at 8th. Just they don't have anything that I can see for them going forward, and it looks like it's going to be a miserable half-decade for them at this point, since they're just refusing basically to go into a rebuild. At number 7, we have the Anaheim Ducks. Yes, not Seattle yet. The Anaheim Ducks, they're not trying to lose. They're trying to lose, but they're not. They're not doing the typical Arizona-Chicago rebuild where just throw everything down and purposely lose. No, they're bringing in players. They got Ryan Strome, Frank Vetrano, John Klingberg, Dmitry Kulikov they brought in yesterday. They have players, and along with Zegras, Terry, Henrique, Comtois, whoever. In net they have still John Gibson. This team could be a very under-the-radar team, and they had a good start last year. They were in the playoffs for quite a while until about halfway through the year. And then they kind of just fell off after that, and they sold at the deadline. They sold off Josh Manson. They sold off, I'm forgetting his name. Hampus Lindholm. So Elias kept coming to my head. I'm like, he's in Calgary, that ain't right. But, so that's why Anaheim, I think, is going to be in 7th in the division this season. Now at number 6, but a very good team nonetheless. Not a very good team, but a much better team than they were last year nonetheless. The second year in the league, Seattle Kraken. Seattle went out and they got money. They have Beniers and Wright for a whole season. Wright was an absolute steal on the draft floor. Then you have they brought in Oliver Bjorkstrand, Andre Burakovsky, Justin Schultz. Well, Chris Drieger is out. Martin Jones to shore up the backup spot, who had a good year in Philly, although Philly did not. And so Seattle at number 6. I think within the next 2 years they should be back in the play. They should be in the playoffs for the first time within the next 3, maybe not 2, 3. Once some of these teams, since a lot of the teams are still kind of newer to the playoffs in this division, as this division has been seen as weak. But at 6th place and 7th, having teams that can be competitive, I think, is showing that this division is getting stronger, and I think has eclipsed the Central Division, to be honest. Other than San Jose, I can't see a reason for any of these teams not to make I can see a reason for an argument for any of these teams to make the playoffs, except San Jose, is what I'm trying to say. So at number 5, this is probably the most difficult spot for me. I didn't know who to put at 5, because Seattle was, to me, a clear 6. They're not ready for the playoffs yet. Within the next 3 years, absolutely. I think they'll be one of the best teams. They could be one of the best teams in the league with 3 years, with Beniers and Wright down the middle. But at number 5, just because of their lack of depth and goaltending, Vegas. However, I did make a comment on one of the Hockey Guys videos earlier this offseason, and the comment was he said something, made a comment in the video of, unless you think 5 Pacific teams are going to make the playoffs instead of 5 Central teams, or 4 and 4 or whatever. Well, your first team in the playoffs, the Vegas Golden Knights, at the 5th spot in the division. And this means that I think that 5 teams in the Pacific Division are going to make the playoffs this year, and I think 3 in the Central are. I think the Pacific Division has gotten that much better to be able to make that claim that they are better than the Central at this point. So you have Vegas at 5. A whole season of Eichel should be good. Mark Stone is rumored not to start the season. They've lost Max Pacioretty. They've gave away Dylan Coghlan with Pacioretty for free. They brought in Phil Kessel that maybe can get a rejuvenated scorer, bring back some of his scoring. He didn't have it. He had a pretty good year for Arizona standards, 8 goals, 44 assists, and maybe get some more goals in there. And you have a pretty good line right there with Eichel and Kessel on the same line. That could work out pretty well. But this team just has a lack of depth, a lack of goaltending. I mean, Thompson, Hill, and Brazois and Leonard aren't ready to start the season. Leonard's probably not going to play this season, so it's going to be, looks like, Aiden Hill and Logan Thompson, which Thompson has proven to be a good goaltender. Aiden Hill can be a good goaltender, but compared to the rest of the division, Vegas definitely has some of the weaker goaltending. Maybe the only one I could see being above is San Jose. Now at number 4, after a good long think about this, the LA Kings make it in as the first wild card, Vegas the second. And while they had a good year last year, I think that this division has gotten better enough that they dropped down to 4th. And that doesn't mean to say they're not a good team, but to know if he can produce that performance again, they might even finish higher. Bringing in Kevin Fiala is huge. We'll see how much of an impact if he's a good fit with LA. Jonathan Quick and Cal Peterson need to have some sort of an exchange shoot. Quick can't play God forever, and Peterson had a down year. Quick luckily had a good year, and they nearly won a series against Edmonton. They were Edmonton's. They made once LA seemed like the most difficult challenge to Edmonton until the conference final, because Edmonton kind of just beat Calgary outright. And so yeah, LA, we'll see if Todd McClellan can get this team back into the playoffs and continue what should be the end of their rebuild and them starting their rise to prominence. Now at number 3, I can't hold them off any longer, the Vancouver Canucks. JT Miller, you have 1 year to convince JT Miller to stick around. This has to be the year you go all in. And with this team, with this, I think they have made of the best top 9 in the league, and not one of the best top 9s in the league. Their defense is pretty solid. You have Ekman Larson, Hughes, brain fart. They brought in Dermott at the deadline last year. Tyler Myers is every year off his contract is a bonus, but he's a good defenseman, just not for the money he's being paid, among others as well. Vancouver, I think, is going to be a very under-the-radar dark horse team next year. And while I've seen a lot of people putting Vancouver out, picking them out of the bunch to make the playoffs, I think Vancouver has a very strong chance in the Pacific Division that they could surprise some people. Along with a full year under Bruce Boudreau, you saw how well they played last year, just a few points out of the playoffs after a dreadful start. I think Vancouver can turn some heads this season and maybe convince JT Miller to take a discount and stick around, because that cap space, that's the one problem. Now at number 2. Calgary Flames, who won the division last year. They lose Gaudreau and Tkachuk. They bring in Kadri and Huberdeau. I don't know how you can go through such a change of the core in one off season, but Calgary did it. And Kadri just off a cup in Calgary. Huberdeau just off a huge season, 115 points in Florida. They trade out Sean Monahan for future considerations. They still have Markstrom and Vladar in the back end. Their defense is strong. If they don't have Tanev to start the season, that could be a little upsetting, but if he comes back, he should be a solidified defensive presence. Shillington and Mangiapane are signed. Are they? I feel like Mangiapane is. I'm not sure if Shillington is. I can't remember. There's a lot of signings. I can't keep track of them all. I know Ottinger got signed today. But, yeah, Calgary's second place in the division doesn't seem too far off. And their cross-province brethren in the Edmonton Oilers, I think, are not only going to win the division, not only win the conference. This is McDavid and Draisaitl's moment to carry this team to beyond things that they have seen since Gretzky. President's Trophy win for Edmonton is my prediction this year. I was right last year with Florida getting it. I was right in 2021, although I didn't have a channel then, with Colorado getting it. Edmonton going for 3 years straight. Edmonton has my money that they're going to win the President's Trophy this season. And although I'm not betting, I'm not betting. But if I had to put money on them, I would put money on Edmonton to win the Pacific Division, the Western Conference, the President's Trophy this season. McDavid and Draisaitl, still huge prominent pieces. They've had it now that they had some experience and leadership shown under Duncan Keith. Hopefully his lessons can carry on to Evan Bouchard, a young defenseman. Evander Kane, a whole season of him playing with McDavid could be 40, 50 goals. They brought in other pieces as well. Hyman's still backing around. Who am I thinking? Jack, and the biggest factor, Jack Campbell. Mike Smith going on LTIR, Mikko Koskinen going to Switzerland. You have Jack Campbell and Stuart Skinner as the tandem. I am very confident that is a pretty good tandem. As long as Campbell doesn't get hurt, Edmonton should cruise through the regular season, and then we'll see what happens in the playoffs when playoff predictions eventually start. So, yeah, that's my Pacific Division predictions. I hope. Tell me guys down below. Do you agree? Disagree? Tell me your predictions down below. Tell me whatever you want. I'm going to respond either way, unless it's some ludicrous, broken English thing that I got from about a year ago. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys in this one. And I want to thank you guys for watching. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Whenever I figure out and whenever a few more signings happen, I feel like there's been enough signings that I can start doing predictions. But there are some divisions where I'm still questioning where I'm going to put teams. If I have to say which one I'm closest to next, it's probably the Atlantic, but we'll see how that goes. I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I shall see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.